Hi guys, Przemek here. It's been about a year now since I started my first full-time job as an engineering manager at DAZN, and in today's episode I'd like to share with you 5 key findings from this period so that you can better prepare for changing your career in this direction. Let's get started. Probably something that is the most impactful for most of the engineers that are becoming engineering managers is how their days evolve. So here I'd like to introduce you to the concept called makers versus managers schedule that was first introduced by Paul Graham from Y Combinator, which basically describes the difference between a typical day of engineer versus engineering manager. In details, we can say that the biggest difference between how managers spend their day versus how engineers spend their day is in their approach to meetings. As we all probably know, engineers tend to avoid meetings as much as they can. What is the reason for that? Basically, the reason for that is that no creation happens during a meeting. Yes, I know that some of you will tell me that you can agree on something during a meeting, you can build a plan during a meeting, you can maybe brainstorm some ideas during a meeting, but the creation itself as a process happens outside of the meeting, only when you say goodbye to each other and you start coding. On the other hand, engineering managers can get a lot of stuff done during a meeting. They can, for example, coach someone during a meeting. They can help the team form itself. They can build a relationship with someone. They can lay down some foundational details about the long-term strategy that their teams will experience at some point in the future. Basically, it is expected from managers to attend meetings, talk to people, and basically consult many different ideas. It results in a completely different shape of a day because as an engineer you have a lot of focus time during a day, a lot of uninterrupted periods, and for engineering managers it is expected from you to change context quickly and juggle between many different priorities at once. Once you can get used to it, everything is simpler. The second thing that I'd like to mention is about the need to update your approach to planning. Planning for the day, planning for the week, a month, a quarter, or maybe planning for a year. Why? Well, this is also a direct consequence of being on a different schedule, this time manager schedule. When I remember myself and my times as engineer, I could say that it was relatively easy to tell you what my next week will be all about. I had a list of tasks waiting for me on Jira, and I could say that, let's say, by Friday I will execute and complete like 80% of them. Of course, there will be some unexpected bugs, there may be some unplanned work, but in general, it was relatively easy to tell you what my next week's scope will be about. On the other hand, as an engineering manager, this is not always the case. Simply because of the fact that you are on a different schedule and you are meeting much more people and you are listening to their opinions and needs and wants and priorities, you will need to develop this ability to mix and merge both internal priorities, your personal priorities of your team members and the priorities of your team, with external priorities contributing to the overall business strategy. When you develop such a solution, when you develop such an ability, you will be able to effectively contribute and develop your team while also staying focused on what the company expects from you as an engineering manager. Third thing that I'd like to mention is about something that may be both exciting, interesting, but at the same time overwhelming. And it is about the overall access to information. Tony Fadell in his book Build says that in order to step up as an engineer, you need to no longer be focused on the current thing for your team, but also on what comes next for your team, right? You need to manage those upcoming priorities. As an engineering manager, I'm taking it to the next level because I can't stay focused only on the current thing or just 1 or 2 things from now, but I need to look what comes next within a quarter or 2 quarters from now. In this context, what is the consequence of such activities? Well, you basically get access to a lot of data points that you need to process internally in order to execute on them effectively. Over time, as an engineering manager, you will be speaking to different stakeholders, you will be speaking to different colleagues, peers, and direct reports, and you'll be trying to understand all those needs of people around you. Not always needs of people around you matters, but also there is a high-level strategy that your company expects you to execute on. So, as an engineering manager, you need to develop this internal ability to process all the noise around you and all the data points and all the feedback that you're listening to on a regular basis to get access to the signal, which means the most valuable pieces of information that helps you contribute to the strategy or some bigger goals that are above you. The next 2 points, point number 4 and in a minute point number 5, will be about those new parts of your job as an engineering manager, those parts that were not always present in your job on a maker schedule as an engineer. And point number 5 is about people management and in general spending time with people. Something that may be really difficult with a lot of engineers, but something that is a very foundational activity for engineering managers. As we said before, being on a manager's schedule results in attending a lot of meetings. Your day will be full of meetings, and throughout those meetings you will be meeting a lot of people with their own wants, needs, interests, some of them implicit, some of them explicit, and different incentives. You need to compensate for all of that. You need to build the ability to accept all the different approaches to going through the day and getting stuff done. Without this, you will be relying on your own biases, and as an engineering manager, you will be too rigid, right? You will be trying to review everyone by your own lens, and it won't bring any meaningful results to most of the conversations that you're attending. Last but not least, something that is often overlooked, but at the same time something that is immensely important for new engineering managers, is about letting go of the old habits. What do I mean by old habits? Well, old habits of spending time in front of the IDE, spending time in front of the text editor, coding stuff, building stuff, architecturing stuff, visualizing stuff, basically being a developer. As an engineering manager, this is not your primary objective. Your primary objective is to manage. Manage individuals in your team, let them grow, develop new skills, upskill them. Manage your team, which means get them prepared for upcoming priorities, successfully complete projects, resolve dependencies, promote your team externally, hire and fire people from your team. And also manage stakeholders, speak to different people, speak to different parts of the org. Promote everything you do with your direct stakeholders and with your direct reports. Basically, the primary objective of engineering manager is to manage. Without letting go of the old habits, it won't be possible to achieve. This is not something that is easily achievable, but if you can design your environment in a way that, for example, you are not installing the IDE within the first few weeks of your new job, you will get it done. And these are my 5 key learnings from my first year as an engineering manager. Please let me know in the comments section if it was an useful information for you, if it was a useful episode. If you want to learn more about this career path, just let me know, and surely I will prepare more materials on my journey as an engineering manager. Stay tuned for more and have a great day. Enjoy!